Hello everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the stream. Sorry for being a little bit late, but it's okay, we're here now. So what we're going to be doing is reworking how the boosters work. I still think the boosters in Alchemortis, the booster nodes, which are the nodes that allow you to get more items, I don't think that they were very compelling, and there was a problem with them, which was causing certain cards or certain types of cards to be more common than others. And that was really becoming a very clear problem, especially as I've been adding more items to the game. And so I'll go into all the problems that existed with the old booster system and what the new booster system is in just a second. But first, Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. The Steam page has been updated recently. Brand new description, capsule art, all that stuff. The trailer and the screenshots are going to be updated here very shortly as well. And then it will be a nice, super awesome Steam page. But you could wishlist it. That would help me out a lot if you haven't done so already. Also, if you want, you could subscribe at Patreon. I am entirely self-funded, so every little bit helps. There's a couple of options if you want to support. There's a very basic $3 a month tier. This just gives you early access to videos, exclusive Patreon content, but it also gets you early access to the playtest. So whenever I run a playtest, if you're a subscriber of this tier, you will get into the playtest. And the sponsor tier here, this is a special one because if you subscribe to this tier for at least 1 month, I'm going to send you a Steam key for the full game. So you subscribe for 1 month, you get Alchemortis for, I won't say for free, but you won't have to buy it again on Steam. And you also will have your name listed in the Alchemortis credits as a thank you for supporting the development of the game. So check those out if you're interested, but you can also purchase my Udemy courses. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine, and it's also a great way to support me. But you can also support by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, following on Twitch, joining the Discord, all of that good stuff. So everything's linked below. Everyone has been on the internet for decades now. I'm pretty sure everyone knows where to find all the links to everything, but I don't know. For some reason, it's still common practice to say that. It should just be implied that whenever you have a YouTube channel and the guy's like, hey, you know, thanks for your support, whatever. It's like, oh, there's stuff in the description to click. But I don't know. Maybe it's not obvious. Maybe it's not obvious. I feel like we've been saying the same thing for 10 years now. The internet is old now, everybody. The internet is old. Hello, Chris. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Emerson. Welcome back. Jeremy, good to see you. Malicious Rabbit, good to see you. Snub Bill, thank you for the IDR 10,000. As always, it's very generous. I appreciate it. Welcome back to the stream. And we have the message yummers. First, I've seen the Steam art. Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy with how the Steam art came up, or turned out, is what I meant to say. I did work with an artist for that, as many of you know. Went through several iterations of the art and ended up with something really cool, so that's awesome. Hello, Junie. Welcome back. Johan, welcome. Good to see you. The key art looks super cool. Thank you, Gareths. Appreciate it. Hello, Tan Talking. Co-work. Yes, if you're going to co-work is a good idea. I mean, even when I'm working off stream, I will often put some kind of like game dev interview or live stream up. It's just a nice little cozy thing to be working while somebody else is working. What a cool cup. What is set on it? It's not that impressive, but it's, oh, you can't see it because of the camera. Anyway, there's a company called Death Wish Coffee, which I typically get my coffee from, which is super edgy and super like millennial, I guess, for lack of a better word. But they do occasionally sell these very sturdy handcrafted mugs. And so I got this one a couple years ago. And plus it's got skeletons on it, so there you go. How could Firebelly use any other coffee mug but the one that has a skeleton on it, right? Good morning, Ninja Link. I have heard of it. Yeah, I will say, like, So yeah, the malicious rabbit. I do drink my coffee black, and Death Wish coffee is one of those coffees where it's like it tastes really good black. Like it's hardly bitter at all, and it's just very strong by default. So I don't know. I don't know how much of a difference the actual coffee brands make in terms of how their coffee tastes, but I could just be placeboing myself into liking the Skeleton branded coffee, but it is really good black. Like there's a noticeable difference between that and like Folgers or something, you know. But I think that's probably true of most coffee. They were notorious for making very high caffeine content. Yes. Yeah, they advertise their stuff as containing a lot of caffeine. I tend to not make my coffee like super dark. I tend to make it a little bit lighter, so it kind of like is a little bit offset. I'm a total coffee man. I confess that a random YouTuber got me to order coffee from his brand because you could order it via SSH console. The coffee was fine, but not worth reordering. That is a very interesting gimmick. I mean, he got you, right? He identified his market and he got your sale. That is actually really funny though. Like you SSH in to order. That is a very, very niche kind of interesting way of selling your product. I'm sure there's some kind of marketing person out there who's seeing that and like having a conniption over that, but I started drinking black coffee since I figured there'd not always be milk, sugar, or whatever. Better get used to it. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, if I have like cream or sugar in the coffee, it slows me down. It makes me tired because I guess it's too heavy or something. But hello, Zeralicious. Welcome. Good morning. Good to see you. I go either way. I get my coffee from a local roasting company. It's great. I'll either drink it black or make a whole latte with froth, milk creamer, cinnamon, caramel, the works. Yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, I think there's a lot of good ways, a lot of fine ways to enjoy coffee. Honestly, one of the reasons that I do black coffee, in addition to it not being super heavy, is that it's just the easiest way to prepare coffee. Like you just press the button on the machine and then like it's done. You know, it's like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of going through like all these rituals to like, I'm the same way when I make dinner. Like a lot of times my dinner will just be like a steak. That's it. It's like, I'm not going to go through the effort of like making a vegetable or preparing something else or whatever. It's just a steak. I'm like, I just want food. I don't need to do all this like hour and a half long prep time for a meal. I just want to eat. Anyway, we should probably work, but Death Wish coffee sound like an artifact that once you drink it has a 51 dies or you dies. Oh, it'd be kind of fun to do a coffee kind of artifact. I don't drink coffee. The taste isn't for me. Yeah, that's true. Primeagen. I've seen him pop up on my YouTube. I've never watched him, really. Just check the Death Wish coffee website out. It's almost like a parody of a millennial brand. I say that as a millennial. Yeah, that's why I said it's like super millennial. You know, I didn't even check, but I'm sure they have flannel shirts in their merch store. Anyway, maybe they sell beard oil too. So I'm reworking the boosters. And I don't have the old code up to explain the problem. So basically, let me see if I can pull up the old code here. So, okay, so I'm reworking the boosters. So first of all, the initial problem was that the way that I was determining what items would be in the booster is I was determining ahead of time like a list of possible ability types. And then what I would do when I would generate the booster, the items in the booster, is I would basically just filter down in the loot table. When I was doing the loot table picking, I would filter it down There may have been another bug in here too. Anyway, I was filtering it down to any items that had the predetermined ability type, right? The problem though is that there are a lot of items in the game that cannot be described simply by whether they have like a fire ability. There are abilities like the infusion altar, which like actually doesn't have any sort of way of categorizing its ability at all, right? So it basically causes an item that is inside of the U shape to execute again several times. And there's no way of like categorizing that such that the booster can offer that as an option. I think the giant mushroom also has abilities like that. So anyway, so that was a big problem. That was causing certain items to, it was basically like artificially limiting the pool from which you could take items. And it was causing certain items to appear much more frequently than others, irrespective of like what the loot table weight was configured for them. So I'm taking a different approach here, and I'm also changing how the boosters work. But the new approach that I have now is I just pick the cards more or less randomly to start, and then I describe them after they've been picked. So for example, what I do is I generate it when I create this booster configuration object. I pick the entries. I pick all of the items that belong to each booster. And this is just totally random. So I go to entries generate, and it's just picking random items. And then I call this generate revealed info. And basically what I do is I choose, okay, do I want to reveal the card tag or do I want to reveal an ability? And if I, let's say, select ability ends up being true, what I do here is I actually iterate over all of the items inside of what was generated, and I get all of the explanations, all the distinct explanations, and then I check, has that explanation already been revealed in a different booster? And I filter that down to all the valid ability explanations. If there are no valid ability explanations for whatever reason, then I just move on to this branch, which just identifies a tag for the card. But if there are valid ability explanations, I just randomly select one, add that as a revealed ability explanation, and then add the selected explanation to the revealed ability set so it can't be picked again. So the idea here is that if for one booster I say this contains a card with a fire ability, none of the other boosters will have that. So the other boosters may contain items that have fire abilities, but fire won't be the thing that's revealed ahead of time, right? And the same for tags, right? So if this select ability fails, or if it's just false by default because of this random determination here, then I just grab a random tag that also has not been revealed, and I choose that as the piece of revealed information. And so what ends up happening is I am either revealing that there's a guaranteed ability type in the booster, or I'm revealing that there's a guaranteed tag in the booster. So this one says contains a guaranteed exhaust item. This one says contains a guaranteed damage item. And this one says contains a guaranteed passive item, right? So I may need to reword that, but that's okay. So that's how it works now. And of course, like I said, I just got unlucky. It described abilities every time, but it will describe tags at some point as well. Oh, is it the same seed? What? Is it running the same seed every time? Oh, I think maybe my restart button doesn't generate a new seed anymore. Anyway, poison, confuse, there we go. Ritual, contains a guaranteed ritual item. So when I click on this, it's going to have a ritual item, which is the idol here, or the lantern. I don't know which one it was targeting, but it guarantees that there's at least one item of that type in the booster. But here's the other thing that I've changed about the boosters as well, is the three options are now distinct from each other. So the first option contains 5 items, but only 1 item can be chosen. So this is a way of getting more pulls at the slot machine, basically. So if you're really looking for like a specific card, you're going to get more opportunities to generate that card, but you can only choose one card from this output. This second booster is basically just going the reverse way for both parameters. So this contains 4 items, but only 2 can be chosen. And this contains 3 items and 3 can be chosen, right? So you basically have this like, well, you could go with more options, more initial options, but fewer final choices. You could take like a middle ground where you've got more items than usual, but you can only take less than the number that's presented. And then you've got sort of like the even, which is like you can generate 3 items and take all 3 items. So the goal here with this booster rework is basically to make the choice a little bit more interesting, right? So let's say that you just want to gather some blood, right? You don't really care what cards you have. You might choose this option because you get to choose the most cards out of this, right? But let's say that you're looking for a very specific item. Like I said, you might want to go with the one that generates more items total because you're only looking for one specific item. And so you're just going to like hit that slot machine and see if you can get it, right? But then there's an additional layer of choice to be made because you see that these contain the guaranteed items, right? So maybe initially you wanted to get pulls at the slot machine because you're looking for a specific item, but then you notice down here, oh, this one contains a ritual item and I have stuff that synergizes with my ritual build. So now the idea here is like, hopefully that creates a meaningful choice where it's like, do I want to go to the casino and try to get that item that I'm looking for specifically? Or do I take the guaranteed ritual item because I know that that's going to fit with my build, right? So I'm hoping that that creates a little bit more of an interesting choice rather than just like 3 options that are more or less the same. And this should also increase the randomness of the outputs generally because again, I'm picking the cards randomly up front with no extra parameters, and then I'm describing what cards are in the booster after they've been picked. So hopefully this adds a lot more variety to the boosters, adds a more meaningful choice. Of course, it's going to need to be play tested, and it's actually not done yet. I haven't implemented this this limited choice yet, but anyway. I drink Celsius instead of coffee. There you go. Just started your course, create a complete 2D Survivors game in Godot 4. Hope will move my game dev thanks to you. Awesome. Thank you for taking that, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm really excited to see the playtest. How many players participated last time? The last playtest had, I think it was 1,200 players. Let me see. Yeah, 1,259 players participated in the last playtest. Now I don't know how many of those people actually like played the game versus how many people just like got access to it. I think there's probably a statistics breakdown there, but I didn't look into it. I probably should, because one of the good indicators for like how well your game is going to do commercially is like what the median time is for a demo or a playtest. But I think a lot of you played the playtest for several hours, which is really cool. Hello, Clickertail, welcome back. Also just started the 2D Survivor style game course, loving it so far. Awesome. Thank you, Simon William Taylor. Appreciate that. Yeah. That course is getting a little bit outdated now. But I just don't have the time to go in and update it. I think it's still good. There's just like there's like 1 or 2 lessons where it's a little bit outdated. Here comes the cat. Wouldn't be a stream without the cat coming in and making noise. There he is. So anyway, maybe we should get some actual work done. So there's a couple of weird things about this new booster implementation, by the way. Congrats on the interest on your game. Thank you, Monkey Software. Thank you. There's the cat. How you been, Firebelly? Good. How are you doing? Welcome back. People can always download the matching version of Godot and then learn what's changed as they upgrade afterwards. Yeah. And I think that's what I recommend. I think I put it pretty clearly in the course description what version of Godot is used in the course. So anyway, there's a couple of weird things about this which I'm not entirely happy about. So if I go to my booster event state machine, so there's this I have this artifact, which is the shovel artifact, that increases the number of options available. It increases the number of options available. I wonder if I should raise the floor as well. Maybe not. The thing that makes me a little bit uneasy with this though is that, so because all the items are chosen ahead of time, none of the additional cards that are added by the artifact can be included in the description, which I think is okay, because I don't really see a feasible way of doing it otherwise. I need to know like what's in the booster ahead of time, because the map node tooltip needs to show that on the booster. So at the previous implementation, I was just determining what the type and the tags were ahead of time, but then I would generate it when the player visited the booster. But now I'm kind of doing the reverse, where I generate all the items in the boosters first, and then I explain them afterwards. So in this test map here, all of the items have already been determined for all of these boosters. And I'll need to update this tooltip here. Anyway, the main thing that I need to do is I need to make it a limited selection based on the options. So let me think about this. Run manager. Add combat reward cards. Get combat reward cards. Combat reward state machine. Overflow container set cards. Set as single choice. Okay. This is this is the overflow container. All right. I'm going to need to change this, I think. Is single choice. Card dimmer component enabled. Let me look at my overflow container. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to generalize this. So I could put the limited choice configuration, like I could bake that into this board scene. So I could configure the board as having like a limited number of choices that you can take from it. But the problem is, I don't know. I don't think that's an appropriate place, because the board is just like the general container for all items, and any additional functionality should be wrapped around that, I think. It may not be worth generalizing this just yet. Yeah, maybe I'll just do booster card selection container. This has a pretty big margin. I also want to change some of the I want to change some of the, what am I talking about? Change some of the layout here, but it's okay. Let's do margin container here. Behavior recursive, disabled. It's okay. Man, controller support for this game is just going to be a freaking nightmare. Steam has a thing where you can, if you're a developer for Steam, you can submit a hardware request, which is basically like Steam will ship you, for example, a Steam Deck if you request it. And the requirements for who they send it to is kind of opaque. I have a feeling they wouldn't send it to me because I haven't sold enough copies of Steam. I'm not a big enough developer, or copies of games on Steam. I'm not a big enough developer, but I would kind of like if they did that, because then I wouldn't have to buy a Steam Deck myself. Because I do want this game to be supported on Steam Deck right at release. And I don't really have a way of knowing with full confidence if the Steam Deck support is good or not unless I have an actual Steam Deck. But they're all sold out right now too, so anyway. I don't know why I went on that tangent, but I guess it's just something I'm thinking about. This is not going to work. Okay, I'm going to need to do something different here. So I need to change this layout a little bit. What happens when this board container increases? Okay, I don't really know how I'm going to lay this out. Let's do another margin container. The cat is being very distracting in the other room. Layout. Oh, right. The problem is that I needed to do something a little bit weird here. So I'm going to use a plain control node, shrink that here, put the label under here. I need to make the label have a custom minimum size of something that's like large enough. Could do 196, and then I change this to center wide like that. And then I change the label to center, choose only. Okay. So that basically allows the label to extend beyond the bounds of like the margin container here. Kind of hacky, but that's all right. Why did you shave it? Yeah. Hello, Rookie Tookie, welcome. As far as I know, for a game to work well on Steam Deck, you kind of just need controller support to make sure it runs on the hardware, which shouldn't be a problem for Alchemortis. Yeah, I mean, I've already had multiple people say that it runs fine on the Steam Deck. It's just and it's even playable on the Steam Deck, even without explicit controller support. So yeah, if I just make it, I think you're right. If I just make it work with a controller, like just like my Xbox controller that I have here, then it should be fine. And honestly, that's what I did for Gunforged. I just added controller support PC. I never tested, I never played it on a Steam Deck myself. And then, you know, a couple months after it released, I just got like the Steam Deck verified badge on it, and I was like, okay. I didn't even apply for that. I didn't say, hey, check this for Steam Deck. I didn't do any of that. It just got Steam Deck verified out of the blue. So I don't know what process Valve does for that. I don't know. I'm sure there's an automated sense for that where, you know, they kind of have telemetry about players playing the game on Steam Deck, and they can kind of notice like whether the controller support is fully functional or not. And then maybe once they collect a certain amount of data, they can just automatically verify it as working. I don't know. New cover art. Yeah, you like it? Maybe touchscreen as well, but I think that's optional. Definitely need to learn how to use control nodes. It seems to be logic, but I'll be much more confident with this knowledge. Yeah. Control nodes are one of those things where like it's a little bit overwhelming. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but once you actually get an understanding of how it works, it becomes really easy to create the kinds of UIs that you want to create. Where are you from? I'm from Ohio, United States. Fun fact, Ohio is the birthplace of a disproportionate number of United States presidents and a disproportionate number of astronauts. So what the heck is going on in Ohio? I have no idea, but it asks users about their experience. When you play for X hours, the Steam UI on deck will ask the user. Interesting. Okay. Like I said, I've never even held a Steam Deck. I've never even seen one in real life. So that's interesting. It will ask after playing. Awesome. Okay. So they are collecting some data. It's just like it's not doing invisible telemetry. It's actually explicitly asking the players. That's interesting. Okay, choose only 0. Speaking of, you know, does anyone watch Goodgis on YouTube? He's making a Dewdrop Dynasty in Godot. Anyway, Goodgis is also from Ohio, which I was pleasantly surprised to learn. Maybe I'll try to hit him up one of these days and see. Of course, he's probably like a 3-hour drive in the other direction, but it's all right. Anyway. Right, so in here, I think what I need to do is do something like you watch him as well? Yeah, I always enjoy his devlogs. I always enjoy his devlogs. So we enable the dimmer component. Private int cards taken. That's fine. Cards taken ++. If cards taken is greater than or equal to choice limit. I need to add a board drag lock in here as well. I'm getting lost. Here we go. So we lock dragging, so we can't take more than that. We emit signal cards taken. Okay, so we also want to do grab the choice label here, access that as a unique name. Choice, let's do, shoot, I should probably just do it this way. Let's do a translated string here. Translation string, choose only 0. Translation groups dot UI. Private const string UI choose 1. Call it choose only. So private label choice label. Visible ratio is equal to 0. Update choice text. Choices remaining is equal to choice limit minus cards taken. Choice label dot text is equal to translation server translate UI choice only. Description utils dot format description. This would be choices remaining. Okay, so we can do update choice text here. I think that's okay. Let's do this. If choices remaining is less than or equal to 0, we're going to tween this out. Okay, and then we'll grab this UI choose only. Let's put that there. Okay, let's build the game. And then when I build the translations, this text should update. The actual question is something like, our testing indicates that this game is Steam Deck compatible. Does this match your experience? Oh, interesting. Nice to meet you. I'm from Poland. My town is called... I'm sorry, I don't know how to say the Polish names. Wyszkow. But glad to have you here. I got a lot of international viewers. Godot supports C#. I'm assuming that's what CS stands for. Yep. Yeah, Godot does indeed support C#. There we go. The text is updated there. Yeah, Godot does support C# for sure. Oh, I'm doing this wrong, but that's okay. I don't need to fix it everywhere where it's a problem. We'll just do var tween is equal to create tween. Tween property choice label string label dot property name dot visible characters ratio. We're gonna go to 1f. We'll just force from 0. Okay. And we'll copy this, paste it here. We'll go to 0f here. Okay, so now I need to call this all right, let's see if that works. Probably not, but we'll see. Okay, that seems to work. I just need to add a delay in here. We'll just do a delay of 1 second. What's the app the scripts are in? Is that a separate thing because the UI looks unfamiliar to me? It's VS Code. I'm using VS Code as my IDE. Okay. So we can only choose one. Let's see if this 3 one works. Okay, that seems to be fine. That seems to be all right. So I'm pretty happy with how that's working, actually. I do need to make sure that that booster, that shovel artifact works. So that text needs to be modified. But it does work. So choose only 3. Okay. Okay, so that text needs to be updated, but add Add limited choice to boosters. Okay, so let's update that text. Where's my booster configuration? Here it is. Option count plus get artifact count by ID. ID.booster card. Okay. Maybe I should just do that all in here. Yeah. Let's do this. I'll create a private method in here. Can I do that? Yeah. Okay, I think that's much better. So now I'm not worrying about that anywhere else. It's just going to be handled internally to that configuration. So let's try that. Looks like VS Code unless it's a fork of it. Yeah, it is VS Code. No fork here. Contains a guaranteed weapon item. So let's see, contains 4 items total, only 3 items can be chosen, and that works. Okay, cool. All right then. So I think the last thing to do is to update that map node tooltip. Booster format string. Private const string UI UI booster tooltip. Let's do translation groups dot UI. Okay, so then in here, what I need to do, this is no longer a thing. We're going to do description utils dot format description. Wait a minute. Yeah. I can actually just do tr in here because this is a node. So we'll translate that. And then I need to get, let's do description utils dot highlight keywords formatted description. So now I need to get the list of all of the let's do private string get revealed keywords. Get revealed keyword, actually. This is that. So then we just do this. Return all of those things. I guess we'll just do string.empty at the end. That's fine. And then we can do get revealed keywords here. Actually, let's make this public. Okay. So then in the booster configuration, what I can do is we'll create a public string get revealed keywords. Return entries.select x.getRevealed keyword. Okay. So now in here, what I can do is I can do booster configuration.getRevealed keywords. Okay. Let's see if that works. Oh, I'm going to need to update the translation. Update the translation. UI booster tooltip. Does this work if I just do this? Yep. Okay. Cool. I also don't need that booster format string anymore. So we can get rid of this. Contains guaranteed weapon, fire, and alchemical items. Contains guaranteed damage ritual and swarm items. Contains guaranteed armor, relic, and weapon items. Minion, relic, and ritual. Armor, relic, and poison. Fire, heal, and poison. Let's just check this one out. So fire, heal, and poison. Cool. This says only one items can be chosen. Maybe we need to break this up into multiple. Okay, let me just make a note for that. To do, add plural version support translation string. Okay, so I'll fix that later, but I think these boosters are much more interesting. Just curious, have you ever come across a programming problem like something you didn't know while working on Alchemortis? Yeah, I mean, I think that has been the case a lot of times, mostly with the enemy board generation that I have in my game. I had to learn an algorithm that's called wave function collapse, which sounds very fancy, but actually is kind of simple in practice. But yeah, that was a situation where, I mean, I don't know if you could call it like a programming problem, because like I know how to program the algorithm. It's just I didn't know how the algorithm worked, and so I had to learn it and go through a lot of trial and error to get it working. But yeah, I mean, there are situations where I come across something that I've never done before and need to figure out how to like get that working or get that implemented. It happens for sure. But again, I don't know if those are like, I don't know what you would call a programming problem. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any problems actually like writing the code and setting up the systems. It's more of like, the theory behind a new algorithm and how it works is the hard part in some cases, right? Wave function collapse. I knew it. I knew Emerson was going to chime in with that. So we've got the booster reworked. I think these boosters are going to be a lot more interesting now. I got 4 items. I can choose only one. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think that's working pretty good, actually. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to add another item. We'll just put that up there. All right, I'm going to merge that in because I haven't play tested it yet, obviously, but I think this new booster mechanic is going to be a lot more interesting. So I'm throwing a lot of changes at you guys for the next playtest. Throwing a lot of changes at you all. Okay, we're gonna go back to master, pull that down. Okay. It's time for game dev once again. Yes, indeed. Hello, Jackie Daytona. Welcome back. Good to see you. All right, well, let's think about something else to do here. So we could do some new items, maybe. We could do new items with new abilities. We could do some new artifacts. Basically, for the next playtest, I need to get through this to-do list here. But I think a lot of this is just like not super interesting to work on. So 3 of these things, or 4 of these things are bugs. Adding a VSync option. I do need a way of reintroducing the eyeball. So right now there's no way to get the eyeball card. Maybe we should figure that out. Maybe we should figure out how to get the eyeball back into the game. Because I don't think it's not possible anymore. So yeah, we need a way of getting the eyeball into the game. Maybe that could be the reward for the elite fight, maybe? I don't know. If anyone has any ideas of how to introduce the eyeball. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break and we'll figure out what to add to the game here. I feel like doing some new content, so yeah, I'll take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we will work on that. All right, I'm back. Any ideas on what we want to do? Let's see, artifact ideas. Artifact that places an immovable item on your free space. Okay. Chance not to consume a resurrection stone. Let's do this one actually. Soul Lantern. I don't know if I like the chance not to consume resurrection stone. Let's see. I mean, we have a lot of artifacts in the game already. I don't know if I should add more. Artifacts are fun to work on, though. So this is how many artifacts are in the game currently. So I'm thinking we could do an artifact that grants resurrection stones. I don't know if I like the chance not to consume. I'm thinking about changing it to something like for every time you spend 50 blood, every time you spend 50 blood, it gives you a resurrection stone. So it puts like this extra pressure on you to like spend as much blood as possible. If I have an NPC that I want to transition from a crystal-like shape into a hand pointing at something, would something like tweens or animation player work? Or would I already need to have the images I want to swap between? I mean, yeah, that's an entire like implementation detail that's just going to be unique to your game. I mean, the way that I would approach it is probably just like use a combination of tweens or animation players and then do some kind of like visual effect to mask the sprite swap. So you could imagine like, you know, I don't know exactly what you want to do, but you have like a crystal that's rising up into the air. You could do that with a tween, you could do that with an animation player, whatever. It shakes a little bit, and then there's a bright like explosion. All these visual effects mask like that explosion, and then when that explosion clears, it's like a hand now. So that would be two different sprites, but the sprite swapping is masked by the visual effects, right? So it's not like a smooth like morph transition into that, which I actually don't know how you would do in a typical 2D game. But, you know, like game development is just like smoke and mirrors. It's a puppet show, right? It's like you're just trying to give the impression to players that something is happening. It doesn't need to be super complicated, right? So like if you need to transform one thing into another, oh, you just put a bunch of particles in front of it and then swap the sprite out while the particles obscure it, and there you go. And you can use like scaling too to make that a little bit nicer. So you could do like a quick scale out and a quick scale in, and when it scales out, it swaps the sprite and then it scales back into the new sprite alongside masking it with some visual effects, and I think that would look pretty nice. So yeah, you could use tweens or animations players for that, it doesn't matter, but there's no need to overcomplicate it either, right? It's like just do something very basic and simple and make it look visually appealing, and there you go. It's done. Okay. No one has any ideas for content you want to see? I've only got, I can only go for another half hour, so let's think. Do need a way of getting an eyeball. All right, let's do this. Let's just do the soul lantern because that's the thing that's sticking out to me. So we'll do the soul lantern. We'll see if we can get at least the art and some of the code done. Soul lantern awards a resurrection stone for every 50 blood spent. Something like that. It's like my tutorial NPC that wants me to change shapes when he wants to point at like a building or something. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I would just do something simple in that case, you know. I think the nice part about 2D games or stylized games in general is that because they don't need to be like realistic, you can just kind of like make it almost like a cartoon, you know? And you can just like do very I don't want to say crude visual effects, but visual effects that are relatively simple and still create something that looks and feels nice. All right, let's see what we can do here. It's a little bit big. I'll fix that. Okay, we can actually extend this now, I think. 3 there. Okay, we can go 1 more up. Okay, now I gotta figure out how to do the actual soul lantern part of this. Okay, could probably work. Let's see here. I think I like that better, that shape. I think that's fine. Yeah, I don't know if there's really too much to do left here. I don't know. It's probably all right. It's probably all right. Actually kind of like this scrunched up a little bit. I think that might be a better shape. Let's see. Yeah, I think I like that shape better. Trying to see if I can create a little bit of room. Can I shrink this one down as well? Yeah, maybe we do that. I'll adjust this shading a little bit, but we shrink that down because I want to be able to do something like this. Yeah. That might be too bright. It still needs to be 3 pixels away from the border. Maybe we could just chop this off, I suppose. That there, put this there. I think that probably looks better. Yeah, we're just gonna adjust the shape here. There we go. Okay, I think that probably looks better. Yeah. And I gotta adjust the shading a little bit, make sure it looks nice. I just delete that pixel there. I think it's probably fine. Soul Lantern. Crazy good icon designs though. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hello, Sonia. Koromon again. Hello, Cyborg. You like it? I think it looks good. I mean, the icons are fun to draw. They're like the perfect size. Like, enough room to add detail, but not so much room that you're still pressured to do as much as you can with as little as possible. So I like it. I like it. I think it's working. But anyway, so we got the Soul Lantern now. Gonna export that. All right, let's create the resource. I have 15 minutes. Let's see what we can do in 15 minutes here. Artifact, create new resource, artifact resource, Soul Lantern. Copy this, paste this here. Okay, edit this region, grab that. There's our Soul Lantern. Description. Every I think it's icon, blood, text. Grants a maybe I should call the resurrection stone a soul stone. Icon resurrect stone text. Description keyword resurrect stone. Okay, so I can do this. Let me do something else. Okay, all right. So every icon blood text spent grants an icon resurrect stone text. I think they look good. Thank you, Cyborg. Hello, Wooius. Welcome back. Emmy Doll Dev. Hello. Watch your video around performance. Very interesting stuff. Awesome. Welcome to the stream. Glad you're here. Oh, I need to do ID constants generator, and then I can do build. Oh, I need to create the soul lantern. I really need to create a tool to create those artifacts for me. Soul lantern. All right, so I need to track how much blood is going on in here. Anyway, build that. Okay, build the translations. What do we got here? Description, resurrection stone. Artifact description, soul lantern. Artifact name, soul lantern. Okay, let's just put that in the game and we'll see what that looks like. Every 0 blood spent grants an icon resurrection stone text. Okay, that did not work. Icon resurrection. Oh, did I do it wrong? Icon resurrect stone text. Oh, I forgot to add it here. Add item or add artifact, soul lantern. Every 50, so that would be 50 blood spent grants a resurrection stone. Okay. Cool. So now we're gonna have to try to implement that. Currency manager. So I think what I would do in here is I would probably do public static void on blood taken, int amount, artifact manager instance. Okay, so we're gonna base artifact. Oh, we need the artifact context as well. Okay, so on blood taken, it's going to construct that artifact context. So then my soul lantern here. Okay, let's do private const int blood spend requirement is equal to 50. Let's do public override object description template parameters blood spent requirement. Okay, and then we do public override void on blood taken. We got the amount. Private int current spend. Okay. Current spend plus equals amount. If current spend is greater than blood spend requirement, we're going to subtract that. Then we're going to do currency manager, add resurrection stones 1. Animate from position. We might want to do, I think I want to add like some kind of artifact animation system so that you know when certain artifacts are triggering. I might not do that for this playtest, but in the backlog, That is a quality of life item, so we'll definitely do this at some point, but I guess I don't need to do that. Okay, so now the last thing that we need is we need to save the current state to the save file. So if I do public override persistent what is it? Persistent state. Let's just do private record state public required int. Well, maybe we'll not do it. Private int current spend. Okay. Let's see. Persistent state. Oh. So this would be new persistent state. Get is equal to current spend. Okay. I really like how this save system works. So basically I declare this persistent state object. This handles serialization and deserialization of a generic object. And usually I just define a record here. And the reason is I can add more properties to this without having to change the save file. So I could store just an int in the persistent state. But the problem is what happens if I want to add a limit, right? So like the soul lantern expires after granting you a soul or resurrection stone. If I wanted to add that in the future, I would have to do a save file migration to go from an int to like, now I have to capture 2 pieces of data, right? So I just always start with an object because then I can just add more properties here. And if those properties are not present in the save file, they just default to their default values, right? But yeah, if this persistent state is overridden in the base artifact, during the serialization and deserialization process, it automatically detects that in the save system, and then it can gather up the state for serialization, which is what this function is doing here, and it can set the state from the deserialization here. And so it just, this persistent state object is basically just like it's a bridge that bridges data flowing to and from the save file and transforms that into either internal state for this base artifact or the state that needs to get written to the save file. And this is the same thing I'm doing for items too. So certain abilities on certain items have internal state that needs to be persisted. It's the same pattern. Any state that needs to be persisted to the save file for items and artifacts just goes through this persistent state object here. So that's saved. We can use a primary constructor there. I'm pretty sure this is going to work, but let me change this down to 5 instead of 50. Have you had problems with C#? I saw there was a memory leak with signals. Not sure if that's resolved now. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what, like that would be an invisible problem for my purposes. So I haven't had any problems that I've noticed with C#. Every 5 blood spent grants a resurrection stone. Okay, so I've got 1 resurrection stone. Alchemy costs 5 blood. So if I do this, it didn't work. Because I didn't do in my currency manager. If currency, I'll just do it in here. If currency type is equal to currency type.blood, artifact manager.on blood taken amount. Okay, let's try that again. Hello, Moondog Deb, welcome. Hello, Mel's, welcome back. Will you make some of these assets into emotes? I do have a snail cat emote in the Discord server. But I could certainly look into doing that for Twitch. Every 5 blood spent grants a resurrection stone. So let's see if this works. I should go up to 2. It didn't work. Why isn't that working? Oh, probably because there's 2 different pathways. Okay. All right, I think this needs to go here, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I need to test this. Anyway, I have a meeting to get to in 2 minutes here. So let's just assume the soul lantern works. Hooray, new artifact, it's great. I'm a wonderful developer, it works, no bugs at all. So the soul lantern is there. But yeah, thank you all for watching, thank you for being here. I'm gonna have to hop off here, but you can wishlist Alchemortis, it's available on Steam. And you can also join the Discord. Everything's linked below. All right, I've got like a minute and a half until I need to hop off for my meeting, so I'm gonna do that. Have a great day, everybody. I'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there. And bye-bye for now.